Of the Sacramento Public Library Authority. This meeting, I'd like to call it to order. Will the clerk please call roll?
Gary Davis. Gary Davis. Darren Soon. Jay Chenier. Daryl Wu. Larry Carr.
Here.
Linda Budge.
Here.
Phil Cerna.
Here.
Jeff Slowey.
Here.
Rick Jennings.
Here.
Donna Tolley. Angelique Ashby.
Here.
Roberta McGlashan. Here.
Caucus Convention.
Eleanor Brown.
Here.
Alan Warren.
Here.
Barbara Payne.
Here.
This meeting of the Sacramento Public Library Authority is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel on the Comcast SureWest cable systems, and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting is being shown live and will be repeated at 4 p.m. on Saturday, February 27th on Channel 14. This meeting is closed caption. A DVD copy will be available for checkout from any library branch no later than 2 weeks following today's meeting. A public copy of the full agenda, including reports, is available for viewing at the back table and is available on the library website at www.saclibrary.org. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should complete a speaker identification form located at the back table and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. In consideration of others, please silence your cell phone at this time.
Thank you. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like Member Wu to lead us, if you will.
Ready? Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job.
Thank you very much. So we'd like to move to item number 2, public comment on matters not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
I see some people out there.
Seeing none, we will move to item number 3, our presentation for today.
Item 3.0, New Orangeville Library Plan, Group 4 Architecture Presentation.
Thank you. Andrea Gifford from Group 4 Architects is here to walk us through.
Thank you, Rivka. Thank you to the board. I'm honored to today present to you an update on the conceptual design for the new Orangeville Library. I'll look this way. So the first slide here is just an introduction to the project team that we've been working with. Thank you. First and foremost, the County of Sacramento, the Sacramento Public Library, in conjunction with the Friends of the Sacramento Public Library, Orangeville Recreation and Park District, as well as ourselves, Group 4 Architecture, and our landscape architects, Calendar and Associates. Just a little history on the library project. This began sort of way before our time, back in 2003, when you guys began planning for the new Orangeville Library. Back in 2015, the library completed a needs assessment, which identified and updated the requirements for the library. At that point, the library sought out and hired Group 4 Architecture to help them through this design process, primarily just through the design development phase for the new library. So we began last November, and we'll be concluding that coming up this July. Primarily, the main reason why we're stopping at the design development phase is that, as we know, there's funding that needs to still be put in place. And so our main focus here is to bring the project up to design development phase to help the county and the library better understand the project budget and the needs for the project funding for this library project. And so our main focus here is to work with the needs assessment, develop a conceptual level design, bring that through design development, work with our engineers to develop a good project budget for you guys, so that then you guys can go out and find the additional funding that would be required to bring this project through completion. Once funding is in place, then you guys would then finish the development of the design through construction documents, at which point you would bring that through bidding and construction. And so here you can sort of see an outline of the schedule. We're at the end of February presenting to you guys. We'll also be bringing this presentation to the County Board of Supervisors, I believe, in now late April. And at that point, we will then be getting ready just to get into the design development phase, at which point we'll be working with our engineers to develop the systems and the material palette for the library, and help you guys get a really good understanding. As I've been saying many times, if any of you have been to the public meetings, is we're just going to bring it to the point where we can develop a good budget, but not develop it so much that, as you know, building code changes, sustainability requirements are constantly changing. We didn't want to develop it too far where we'd have to go backwards in a couple years, but we wanted to develop it just to the right point. So just going to recap, we've had 2 rounds of community meetings. During the first round of community meetings, we went to the public and asked kind of what some of the values were for the site, specifically related to this project. You can see here the library site adjacent to the existing Orangeville Community Center, as well as the activity building and pool. And so some of the things that we heard was to really maintain the beautiful landscape that the existing park has, the love of the trees and the view of the hills from the project library site. There's a convenient and accessible bike trail that runs through there, as well as a number of other community amenities within the park. Obviously, the community center, the activity center, pool, baseball fields, things like that. And then the connection of the site to the Shackleton Woods Trail, which is also just off the aerial that you see up in the screen there. So these are some of the things that the community really valued about the site, and wanted to make sure that as we move forward with introducing a new building within the park setting, that we didn't disrupt or interrupt or take away from those values. We also asked them to talk about some of the top site goals. And here you can see just our preliminary site strategy of how that library fits in onto that library site. So one is, again, maintaining the natural views of the surrounding landscape. So we want to sensitively introduce this building into the site to, one, take care of the views, but really blend with the existing trees and the topography of the site. Most importantly is to get some good safe access to and from the site, not only for vehicles, but also pedestrians and cyclists. Currently, there's not a sidewalk along Hazel, as it sort of ends right at the end of the community center, but doesn't continue on as you go down Hazel. And so we wanted to, again, make sure that we're getting the adjacent school, children, park users, both outside of the site, but within the park, to and from the library. And really to create a campus between both the library and the community center. These buildings are sort of sisters to each other. They're going to be neighbors, and they wanted to really create a nice campus between the two facilities. But at the same point, make sure that there's good visibility. Right now, it seems that there's some that the library gets a little lost within the community, but we wanted to make sure as we relocate it that it had good visibility as you come down Hazel Avenue. And then, as we all know, parking is always a big conversation or a big topic whenever we talk about any new facility. And here, with a park-like setting and the number of facilities and users that are using the park, we really wanted to make sure we struck a good balance between meeting the day-to-day parking demands, but without compromising or losing additional open space that the park is so well known for. During that first round of community, we also asked the community about their design values. We gave them a long list of things, and these are the sort of top 3 that resonated with the community. Of course, it makes so obvious, a connection to the outdoors with a beautiful setting as such that we have, that we really wanted to make sure that we took advantage of that and had large amounts of glazing so that we can really bring the outdoors in. And also provide potentially additional outdoor amenities with outdoor reading rooms and gardens. We wanted to make sure that the building was very warm and inviting, and so the use of warm materials, lots of glazing again, so that people can see the activity in the building and that the building is really open and inviting to those people that are coming into the library. And then to take a little bit of inspiration from its rural setting. And so potentially, and that's not to say that we're going to mimic a barn or some rural building, but to take a little inspiration from that and to not take away and build some new modern building that does really reflect the surroundings that we're in. And so what we did is we took all of those great values, those design goals and site goals. We went back to our office and developed 2 conceptual design options. We then brought those, we vetted that through the project management team, and then brought those 2 conceptual options back to the public for additional input and asked them to weigh in on what their preference would be. So here you can see a little summary between option A and option B. The top option A has a little bit of a simple rural shed form, more of a rectangular floor plan. And option B kind of is more of what we were saying, an undulated roof that picked up kind of the topography of the hills and replicated that into the building form, and then introduced kind of an L-shaped form within the floor plan. After much vetting and voting, you can see it was a close race between the 2 of them. These votes included multiple, both an open house and a formal community meeting. We also went to the Orangeville Recreation and Park Board and got their input. A lot of the friends of the library were present and were able to give us a lot of valuable insight from their point of view. We also went to Orangeville Sheriff and Public Safety Department and got some additional insight from them, as well as library staff and our project management team. And after much vetting and much love of both of them, the project management team came to a decision that the preferred conceptual option was option A. It was a close race, even though it was just slightly above with B. I think there were some things about A that they felt from an operational and maintainable and constructability that option A really kind of had some things that might be a better fit for the library in the future. They felt that it fit beautifully into the site. It embodied those design values that we went to the community, and also enhance the natural landscape and fitting into the community center campus. The floor plan was a little bit more adaptable. If you remember, if you recall, it had more of a very square or rectilinear floor plan as opposed to an L-shaped, and the library really felt that that open and flexible floor plan would really be able to be rearranged and changed and flexible over time to respond to library and patron needs over the next 10, 20, 30, 50 years. And as you know, libraries have been evolving in the last 10 years, and they will continue to evolve as technology and the way that we access information continues to change. And so there were some real benefits about having that real open and flexible floor plan. We also felt that there was a variety of comments from the Friends of the Library. I think neither of the two schemes were perfect, I think, from their standpoint, which, of course, is nothing that we pretend to be bookstore experts in, or how they run their operations. And so we felt with that open and flexible floor plan that we'd be able to respond to their needs and address their concerns a little bit easier in this floor plan. We also thought that the form of the building was real timeless. It's a simple, bold form that would really stand the test of time. And again, from a constructability and cost-effective approach, it had a little bit of a simpler roof form. The undulating roofs of option B, while construction has been evolving and changing over time, we felt confident we could build. A has a more of a classic form, and it's a little simpler to build, and it's simple rectangular box. And so it lends itself to a little easier construction, maintenance as far as drainage and waterproofing, and probably has a little bit of a slightly more cost-effective approach as far as cost and construction goes. And so we'll run through the floor plan and some different views of that preferred conceptual design option A. Here you can see zoomed in a little bit better. So you can see from the front entrance how you walk really into what we call the marketplace of the library, which is really just a place where we have more of a Barnes and Noble feel or a bookstore feel. There'd be a lot of face-out material here. It'd be where your new and popular materials as well as your media would be. And from there you really fan out to the different corners of the big, large volume, the children's, the adult, and the teen area. And so again, you can see here the simple form and the rectangular shape. You can imagine how over time the children's and adults and teen area could really be rearranged and moved around because of the simple form and rectangular shape that we have. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the staff workroom with the adjacent book drop in it, which is really, from an operational standpoint, ideal. So as patrons come up, they drop their books right into the staff workroom, and staff are able to process those materials and get them back on the shelves as quickly as possible. In addition, we have a new meeting room, which was something that was added to the program that the current library doesn't have. And really, we see that meeting room as really an expansion of the library when it's not being used for meetings. We also wanted to make sure that it was divisible, so it could be used for a variety of different sizes of meetings, as well as have good after-hour access. So if there was a community meeting that was happening, it could start either before the library opened or after the library closes. And so you can see on the left-hand side, there's a good after-hour access to that meeting room. And then through sort of like a retail or mall situation, there's a dashed line that comes right outside of the restrooms where we can close off that area, the meeting room and the restrooms, from the rest of the library to work independently, so the materials still are secure. Also from the main library space is access to a back patio, again, to try to take advantage of the natural site and to address some of the goals and values that the library and community heard about being able to connect to the outdoors. And then we'll get into some more beautiful images here. So here you can see the simple, bold form of the roof, taking inspiration of the roof similar to the community center. So just as the community center has a simple shed roof, we have taken the same thing. We're just orienting it in a different direction. So there's a little bit of a dialogue between those two buildings. And then we'll be accessing the entrance of the library through the peak of that shed roof. It's not a true symmetrical shed roof. There's a little bit of a modern play with it. And as we sort of take that peak and shift it to one side. And then as we zoom in, you can see the large expanse of glass as you come up to the entry. So the entry is clearly visible and clearly known with its large windows that act almost like a bay or a way that you can really see through the library to the park beyond and to the mature landscape. As you zoom in closer again, as the front entrance, and with the simple shed form, what we did is we created a large overhang, or what we so likely call the porch of the library. So as you come up to the library, the large overhang not only protects you from sun and rain, but also acts as a front porch to the library. The more solid piece on the left is where the staff would be, again being sensitive to the amount of light and glare in the staff workroom. And then as we swing around, here's the view from the park. Two large areas of glazing, again, one that's on access to the main entrance. So again, there's this clear path straight through the library as you come in, straight out to the park beyond, so it really draws your eye through that space. And then the other large expanse of glass is into the community meeting room. So you could imagine on a community event that those programs or those meetings could easily spill out to a program patio and really take advantage of the outdoor space that's just beyond the library here. We also have a little bit of a porch that's being the north facing. We didn't need as much control with sun, but we still wanted to provide a space that you, when you come out of the library, there's still protection before you enter into the park itself. And then just wanted to highlight the access to the meeting rooms for after-hour use. Again, it's a more secondary. We didn't want it to compete with the main access, but wanted to make sure that it was prominent. So if you did come for an early meeting, you weren't trying to struggle to find where do I get in for this meeting room after hours. There's a clear entry, but still secondary to the main library entrance. And again, had that nice protection from sun and rain for those types of events. And then just swinging a little bit around as you drive down Hazel. And you can sort of see here the two entrances, both to the main library as well to the meeting room. So really what we're doing is we're just wrapping up that conceptual schematic design. So what we'll be doing is refining that floor plan based on some of the comments that we heard from the Friends of the Library, as well as additional library staff comments, reviewing that with both the staff and the library, Friends of the Library, in a technical meeting that will be coming up in the next phase. We'll be refining the site design, the landscape, as well as the outdoor spaces as we bring in our civil and landscape architects, and then completing that in our schematic design package due in March. After that, we'll be reviewing that with the project management team and then rolling into our design development phase, which would be concluding at the end of July. And with that, if anyone has any questions.
So if you'll hold off on questions just for a second, we have one member from the public we'd like to hear from, and then I'd ask my members to press up for questions on the project. Great. Okay, thank you very much. Don Morris.
Thank you. Pardon me. My name is Don Morris. I'm the president of the Friends of the Orangevale Library. I've got several of my board members here. We're here primarily to show our support for this project and moving forward on it. We've been proudly and loudly advocating for a new library since the formation of this group in 2001. So mostly we're just here to see what's been presented and press forward on that. And presently we're looking forward to continuing to give our input to the design team as far as what we see the needs of the Orangevale community at large are. That's primarily all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, let's go to board member comments. Councilmember Carr.
Yes, two quick questions.
Yes.
To what extent is the building sited to take advantage of solar?
So let's go back and we can. So it's primarily oriented in the east-west direction, and so with the overhangs, it's kind of an angle. The way that we oriented the building is not true north or east-west, in a north-south or east-west, so we've angled it, and we've done a number of sun studies, and we'll continue to do those sun studies. But the overhang in the front primarily addresses the morning sun, and then as it transfers over, especially in the summer, because of its orientation with the sun rising east and west, the roof is, we can control those in those two directions, and we can control the southern light because we're only dealing it within the summer or late summer, fall, and winter months. So we've oriented an ideal location, which happens to work well with the rest of the campus and creating that campus facility. So we're really taking advantage of that and thinking about that as we continue to move forward.
Good. And is it possible for a pedestrian or a bicycle rider to get to the library without negotiating a parking lot or other cars?
The way that yes, if you're coming from the backside, especially if you're coming from the Shackleton Woods, but from the street side, as you saw, most of the parking was located along Hazel in the front of the building. So anybody coming from the Hazel side would need to negotiate through a parking lot. So therefore, it would have some transfer or connection with cars. We'll be looking to minimize that, so when those connections do occur, we do change of paving patterns, so that's a clear indicator that cars need to slow down because we've got a change of material and color. And so those will be things that we'll be looking to address to make sure that pedestrians coming from Hazel have that safe access. But obviously anyone coming from within the park or through Shackleton Woods would have easy access without pedestrian or without vehicular crossings.
Member McGlashan.
Thank you. Well, I just want to thank everyone involved, the library staff, our library director, the county staff that was present, your firm, and the Friends of the Orangevale Library, and everyone else who has participated so far. It's exciting to get farther along in this project. The county does have $5 million set aside in our 5-year capital improvement plan, but that, of course, is about half the amount that's necessary to build this beautiful structure. So we still have work to do. I did have one question, because in Orangevale, in addition to bicycle and pedestrian access and transit and cars, we also talk about equestrian access. Did that come up at all in any of the community meetings?
It did a little bit. I probably not as much as maybe if we were presenting 5 or 10 years ago. But there was talk about whether there needs to be a hitching post or some place where equestrians would be able to sort of park their vehicles, so to speak. There is some challenges with that, because there's certain liability when you need to provide the proper water and safety when you sort of tie off horses of that nature, and how do you protect that from people and other people using the park. I think we'll probably continue to explore that as we move forward. I think the setting seems appropriate with access to some equestrian trails nearby, and I think it will just be a conversation with the library and the county as how they best want to handle that and make sure that we're not taking on unnecessary risk and that we're handling those risks appropriately.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple quick questions. In item A versus item B, we chose A over B. And did we lose any square footage in that choice?
No, they were equal, both. It was always deceiving. Some people thought spaces were bigger in one versus the other. Overall, the buildings were the same size. We tried to make spaces as equal as possible, but as you know, with every scheme, there might be slight minor changes in square footage. But primarily, the overall square footages were equal, and just was the way that they were laid out differently, as opposed to a big, large rectangular room versus these two wings of the library.
Great, great. Well, I think you did a great job with the connection to the outdoors, the warm, inviting building, as well as the rural inspiration. So really, really nice job. And I, too, want to thank everyone that was involved in giving input to this choice. And so thank you. This is a presentation today, as I understand it, and it'll come back to us at a later date.
Great. Well, thank you, guys, and thank you, everyone, for listening and taking the time out.
Thank you. Item number 4, our director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As is my habit, I will refer you to my written report, but I did want to call out a couple of things. One is that with our Southgate and Arden Dimmick libraries currently closed for their interior refreshes, we thought the most prudent thing to do would be to add hours temporarily to other locations. So next Monday, the Arcade, Carmichael, and Martin Luther King libraries will be open on Mondays so that we, first of all, can deploy the staff that are from the closed locations and not lose hours in the process. So that's something that I wanted you to be aware of. And when we did the action regarding after-hours Wi-Fi, we promised a report. So the written report on that update is also in my director's report. Last month, I also mentioned a book published by two Sacramento Public Library staffers, World War I and the Sacramento Valley. You will find a copy of it next to your place on the dais. And we're very excited. This is, I think you're the first recipients because the book is pretty new and pretty
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
just published. So please enjoy it. And while you're enjoying it, reflect upon how smart and amazing the staff at the Sacramento Public Library is. And then finally, I talked with the Christy Aguirre, who's our supervisor at the Bell Coolidge Library. I'm sure you're all aware of the news story from a couple of weeks ago of the young skier from the Davis High School ski team who was severely injured while practicing for, I guess she's on the race team. She's now at Shriners Hospital. Her name is Jillian Foster, and she's the daughter of Christy Aguirre, who runs the Bell Coolidge Library, and Christy looks forward to thoughts, prayers, good feelings as Jillian recovers. It's a very tough road, and she's a very remarkable young woman, so your good thoughts are most welcome. That's my report. Thank you.
Great, great. Any comments or thoughts from, well, we have one person for public comment. I'd like to bring them up. Christian Otto on this item number 4. Welcome, Christian.
Hi. Thank you for letting me testify, for lack of better words. But we are moving, the foundation is moving from the library to our own place. And we're very excited about it. We're very happy. And we want to thank the library and you for putting up with us for these years. And now we're open for business on our own grounds, and we're really, really happy about it. It came up. We've been looking for some time. We're keeping our eye open, for lack of better words. And there is a kind of a new conglomeration of nonprofits at about Alhambra and X Streets. And we are going to become part of them. We're renting an office there. The college task is there. Neighborhood Works is there. Teach for America, Sac Asian Chambers coming in, Black Chambers coming in, and so is the Hispanic. So we're going to be surrounded by nonprofits and hopefully be able to do what we do best, and that's raise money and be among our own, for lack of better words. So I just want to thank you very much and tell you, and we will be up and we will be getting out our new information shortly. All righty, any questions?
Well, I just want to thank you for all the years of being a tenant with us, and we hope that that doesn't stop you from raising incredible amounts of money for the cause.
No, it's to raise more money.
Exactly.
It's one of the things that will do for us is allow us to have evening hours to make calls to donors rather than do the daytime thing, and to thank donors and have things in our office after hours. So that's what we're mostly proud of and happy about.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. Seeing no additional one pushed up on this item, if you'll take us to the next series of items.
Information items. 5.0, monthly financial report, December 2015. 6.0, quarterly investment report, quarter 2, December 2015. 7.0, Sacramento Public Library annual report for fiscal year 2014-2015.
I have no public comment on these items, and I have no one punched up to speak. So therefore, these are information items. Let's move on to the consent items. Consent.
Item 8.0, action summary, January 28th, 2016. 9.0, CalREN migration for internet connectivity. 10.0, revised and new position descriptions, adult learning and literacy supervisor, and senior maintenance worker. 11.0, approve agreement with AMS .net for purchase of network equipment. 12.0, Southgate Library Interior Refresh Project, County of Sacramento Agreement for Project Management and Oversight. 13.0, Arden Dimmick Library Interior Refresh Project, County of Sacramento Agreement for Project Management and Oversight.
Okay, thank you. We have no public comment on these items, and we have no board member punched up to speak. With that, I would entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, so moved was Member Wu, and second it was Member Warren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain. Let the record show that, should we be punching up for this? Should we use the new system that we have at our disposal?
I think we were just going to use it for the action item.
Okay, all right. I
But we
just want to
could-
get us some practice, though.
We
This
could
would
next
be an
time.
opportunity to practice.
Do you want to do it again?
All right, so let's start all over again. Start all over.
Start over.
Okay. Because I'm trying to figure out, okay, there it is. All right, cool. All right, so all in favor, vote with your left or right finger. All oppose, abstain, and recuse themselves. So this wonderful system that the county has put in place, this will be our first time using it, and the results are?
It's supposed to.
I just wanted to see if it worked.
There we go. Doesn't work.
Well, that's weird.
Did you change it?
Yeah.
You did change it? Okay, let the record show that we are unanimous.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we will have another opportunity on item number 14, so stay tuned. We will move to the next item, which is item number 14, I believe. Would you like to speak that into the record?
14.0, mid-year budget update and position control, fiscal year 2015-2016.
Well, this is going to be horribly boring following the voting. Each year, we come to you in May to approve an operating budget so we can begin operating on July 1st. And then we come back to you in September after we've gotten more money in and our books are closed for the year to realign that. And you approve a final budget for us. And then mid-year, this month, usually February, we come back to you with any adjustments that we see based on changes in revenue, changes in expenditures. And I'm here to present to you those changes. So you have before you a report. Ultimately, the high level of this is that net revenue has changed in the positive by an amount of about $1.6 million. Expenditures we're asking for expenditure increases in an amount of about $971,000. And the result of that is a net change in use of fund balance of about $169,000. So county property tax, we always underestimate that each year. We use the prior year numbers to build our budget, and then we wait for the adjustments in property tax revenue from the county and come back to you. So those we're estimating an increase of about $400,000 for the remainder of the year. The city revenue, both the city general fund and the two parcel taxes, we estimated what we think is accurately, so we're not suggesting any changes at this point. So we think those numbers are on track. The library galleria, as you'll recall, the roof has leaked for decades, and the city was able to make those repairs this year. However, because there were workers and scaffolding over the glass dome, we chose to not have events in the galleria for liability issues. The result of that, unfortunately, is that we lost some bookings. So we're reducing anticipated revenue for the galleria by about $70,000. Shared cost is up. We have a library navigator who helps us with security issues and homeless issues in our central library and helps place patrons with services. That position had been vacant for a while, and we didn't fund it in September, so we're asking to fund that position. The agency that we work with has been able to stabilize that, and we actually have a navigator in and out, working for us as an on-call. The other changes are also a literacy grant that we receive from the state, so that's additional revenue and expenditure for us this year, and about $14,000 in additional partner fees that we get because we share our library catalog with other libraries and they pay us to use that service. Our E-rate revenue, this is based on school lunch program discounts. This is the national program for education rate discounts on technology and telephones. And we look at that each year to estimate what we think we're going to get. Part of that program is for telephone, discounts on telephone service, and that's being phased out. So when we looked at the numbers, we're anticipating a reduction in the credits that we're going to get this year because they're winding down parts of that program. So we're decreasing our E-rate revenue by about $200,000 this year. The reflecting revenues year to date, we've actually had an increase in revenue in the iStreet Press, and this is the book printing machine that we have. So we're actually going, for the first time, budgeting revenue for that program. So this is really good news. We're going to spend it later, but we're really happy about this. And then the other is the gifts and donations that you approve throughout the fiscal year. You've accepted 2 reports so far, and they're reflected in this budget change. Are there any questions about the revenue piece of it? Okay. On the expenditure side, we're requesting a modification to one position and an addition of a position in our facilities department. If we can fill it this fiscal year, we are anticipating the fiscal impact of that is about $15,000. And this is a position to help us provide additional maintenance and repair to the 28 facilities that we operate. Services and supplies, I've talked about the downtown navigator. We're expecting that to cost us about $57,000, and we need to budget that. We've also had an increase in some other maintenance expenses. So, for instance, we now have to have fire extinguisher and fire alarm system inspections, and we have to pay for that. So it's additional expenses that we hadn't anticipated in September. And then, of course, the cost in iStreet Press on supplies and on-call staff kind of washes the revenue piece. Capital outlay also, which you've just approved in the consent budget, in the consent items is actually in the budget for mid-year, and that's to procure an automated materials handling system that will be located in our logistics area, the loading dock area of the central library here downtown, where we do all the distribution and resorting of all the materials that go back out to all the branches. So we'll begin that this fiscal year with procurement. Given the timing, it's unlikely that we'll have it installed this fiscal year, so we probably won't use all of the $600,000, but it'll at least get it into the books so we can begin that procurement process. This figure is based on estimates of previous installations that we've done and just allowing for standard increases in costs. Also on the literacy side, so we got a grant and then we're going to spend it, so we balance that on the books. And then the last is the California State Library has approved a statewide program for career online high school scholarships, and Sacramento has been participating in this for a while. Part of that commitment for us to get 50 scholarships is to also purchase 50 scholarships, and we're looking to do that over 2 fiscal years. So part of that expense will happen this year, in a tune of about $27,000, and then the remainder in next fiscal year. So you'll see that in the May budget for next year. So that's part of our commitment to do that, and it's a sole source activity because it's a state grant, so it's not something we can negotiate since it's already been positioned that way. And then finally, to balance the revenue, we also have the gifts as an expense side on the books. So in position control, there is an addition of a senior maintenance worker, which will have partial expense for this year, and also a volunteer coordinator. This is not an expense. The position was already in there. We didn't have the title right in position control. So that's the change in position control. So there's only a net increase of 1 full-time equivalent, and that would be in facilities. So the fiscal impact for the additional position this year is about $15,000, and next year would be about $69,000, including salary and benefits. So the budget challenges for us remain the same. The city general fund contribution has been flat. There's been no increase for the last 3 years. We are expecting the CPI increases in the 2 parcel taxes with the city, Measure X and Measure B. So they continue to grow each year a little bit. And then the county revenue on property tax has been increasing nicely. So the economy is improving. So we're benefiting from that. So I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to the budget changes.
We have no public comment, and we have no one pressed up to speak at this point in time. No? Anyone? Okay. So, good job. I'd be looking for a motion at this point in time.
Moving the item.
Member Natoli, Member Slowey, seconded. All in favor? Let's go back to our new opportunity to utilize technology.
You did. Yes, you did.
Please let the record know we are unanimous.
Didn't work that time, Larry. No, I know.
Okay, that's wonderful. Let's move to item number 15.
Item 15.0, Sacramento Public Library Management Compensation Study.
Thank you. In the mid-2000s, those of you who were on the board then will remember that there was a class and compensation study done for staff, and one missing piece of that was that management was not actually part of that study. And as a result, again, those of you who've been on the board for a while know that there are some things that are a little bit askew. So we thought, in the interest of completing work that was not completed a decade ago, it was time to actually finish that work and bring it to the board. It's before you today as an action item, although we're asking you to take no action. Our consultants are here to present some information to you, to take questions, and to receive direction that you might want to provide, and then we'll be back with more complete information at a later date. We realize that an agenda title that we need to use moving forward is discussion, which I think your other jurisdictions use. So today it's an action item, but we're not asking for any action.
Okay.
Thank you. And joining us are Susan Bach and George Stiles.
Stiles, yes. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having us here to present and to discuss this initial issue. We were contracted, our firm was contracted with, our firm, Schubert Geveshank Consulting, was contracted by the library to conduct a compensation study. This study it really includes three components. It's not just the research of market compensation that exists in today's market versus 10 years ago. There's really three components to it. The first is that compensation study. Right now we're in the process of researching market compensation. We've contacted 12 different agencies to receive input regarding their compensation of libraries. Really what we're trying to do there is to identify what the market shows. And then what we'll do is we'll establish an implementation plan where we'll recommend to the library what steps can be taken to bring the library's management compensation into alignment with where management, where the board wants that compensation to be in comparison with the market. The next component of this study is really a system maintenance plan. The last compensation study was conducted 10 years ago. Over the course of several years, compensation in a single organization can veer from the market from time to time, and it's important to keep an eye on what the market's doing, even if it's not through a formal compensation study. So what we'll be doing is developing a maintenance plan, which will provide some step-by-step procedures that management can follow, can implement, so that they can monitor the market on an annual, biannual basis and see what's going on with the market at a higher level than what we're doing today. And that will allow management and the board to see, where things are aligned and maybe some adjustments need to take place. The third area is the development of a compensation philosophy, and it's that area that really informs the first two. It is what establishes where you want to be in comparison to the market. Do you want to establish salaries at the median in the market, or do you want to be on the higher end or on the lower end? And all of those decisions have consequences. And so one of the things we wanted to talk about today was some of the factors that need to be considered in developing a compensation philosophy, even though the philosophy will be a component of our report. It really is a product of management and of the board. It will reflect your views on these specific factors and where the library lies in relationship to those. We will present that in our report, and we will describe how that impacts the recommendations that we ultimately make in the report. So discuss some of those factors which are discussed in the staff report that you have before you. I'll hand you over to Susan Bach.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Bach. I'm a compensation consultant with Schoberg Evershank Consulting. And I'm here to try to talk about the compensation philosophy components and also, as appropriate, gather any input, answer any questions. So a compensation philosophy is a living document that helps, as George indicated, inform where the board and management sees compensation in relation to the marketplace, but also internally. How should things align internally? And it should be a well thought out document and should support the mission and the vision of the library and of the human resources mission in general for the library. So the first part of a compensation philosophy are what are your objectives and goals for the total compensation program. And this is where you see a philosophy statement will say things like, we anticipate compensating all of our staff at the market or above the market, or because we're struggling, we can't yet reach the market, but we hope to, over the next some period of time. The philosophy would include things like, why are we doing that? Why do we want to pay our employees? Well, we want to attract and retain the best quality employees that we can. We want to maybe provide competitive compensation. We want to reward our high-performing individuals. Maybe part of our comp philosophy is to foster a team environment. Perhaps it's to ensure that there's a sense of fairness and transparency and non-discrimination in our compensation program. And to reduce the potential for pay compression, something that has occurred over the years as salaries or compensation that is routinely negotiated with the associations that represent these employees, and then those salaries tend to go higher, and when other salaries in other associations or those who are not represented don't keep up with those negotiations. So a philosophy statement can indicate a desire to address that issue and to advance the general visions and goals and objectives of the library. So that would be the first thing you would see in a total compensation philosophy statement. You would next define the organization's competitive market generally. Who do we compete with for staff? Who do we compete with for management? We look at things like the location. Is it just Sacramento? Is it all of California? Is it the nation? We look at size of the organization. We could look at budgets. We could look at the number of employees. We can look at circulation, the number of branches. There are a number of ways to define size. And there's what type of a library organization is it? This is a joint powers authority. Other libraries are divisions of cities or departments within counties. Some of them are other types of standalone organizations. So, is that important or not so much? So those are the kinds of things that you think about when you look at who your competitive market is. We want to, as I indicated right up front, where do we want to be in relationship to this market? At the market is the most common statement you'll see, and then what does that mean to be at the market? At the market means that we're going to pay at the median of our competitive associations, or is it at the average, which is average is a different statistic than a median is. Median is right in the middle. Half is lower, half is higher. Averages, we add it all up and divide by the number of statistics we have, and that's the average. And those are two different numbers, and they come out differently in different types of studies. We generally look at base pay first, and then we would look at benefits and other non-cash compensation. And where it's available, then we look at compensation that is variable. That is, it's not base pay, it's not paid by the hour or the week or the month, but it's variable based on other aspects, performance perhaps, special projects perhaps, difficult issues, surmounting difficult issues. We look at benefits often when we talk about a total compensation statement, because your total compensation is not just the cash you take home, but it's also the benefits that you earn, health and welfare benefits like your medical, your dental, your vision coverage, life insurance if it's provided, your retirement and savings plans, things that we plan for provide so that our employees have a future past just working these, the number of years that they work before they can retire. And we also look at time off. Time off has become a very important benefit to employees, much more than it was, say, 10 or 20 years ago. Now it's incredibly important to employees, so we need to look at that benefit as well. How do we focus on it? How important is benefits compared to base pay, for example? Is it more important? We want to put a greater emphasis on that in our compensation, or is it equal to or less than our base pay compensation? How does compensation increase over time? Do we provide merit increases? Do we provide step increases? Is years of service the critical component, or is performance the critical component? So we want to address that, at least in a general way, in our compensation philosophy statement. And finally, if it's available or wanted to be made available, we talk about variable pay. And variable pay, as I said, is any kind of pay that is not strictly and somewhat, if you will, guaranteed. So if I work, a week, I get a week's salary in that sense of guaranteed. But variable pay would be set up because there's a special project going on and people are working, people who don't receive overtime, for example, but are working many extra hours because of that special project, we might want to put a bonus program in place for that. Or we might want to reward just generally exceptional performance at the end of the year because we don't have a merit pay plan. We have a years of service pay plan, so we might want to reward exceptional performance. And then the other is the idea of using a bonus, a one-time bonus, rather than adding to base pay as a way to ameliorate the effects of pay compression. So all of these are the kinds of things you might see in a compensation philosophy statement. We're hoping that you have either questions to ask or even input on what you would all like to see in our comp philosophy, what direction you'd like that philosophy to take.
Thank you very much. That we will go to Member Slowey.
Thank you. And a couple questions for you, but first to Rivka. I think, and I may be wrong, but I think it would be helpful for the board to be able to see the results of the study that we did last time around, even though I know it wasn't for management. And the reason I say that is it will give us an idea of where we landed in terms of what the philosophy was there. I'm a firm believer that you don't have we go out for the average associate and say we're going to pay medium, but then we go to the managers and say we're going to pay top, bottom, or whatever. So
right.
For me, it would be helpful if we can dig that up. I'm sure this is a library, we can find it.
Well, it was a board action, so we can
dig it out of the minutes.
We'll dig it out, and we can provide that at the next meeting. And I think one of the complications was it was implemented for the 2 bargaining units, but not for management.
Right.
And there's a record of that.
There's a disconnect.
So we can
know
provide that.
But I think it would be helpful to see, even though that was a few years ago and different board members, at least what that action was.
Okay.
At least from my end, I'll just throw out a couple of things and then turn it over to my fellow board members. I prefer the median. I never want to be at the top, and I never want to be at the bottom. I do think we're unique from the JPA standpoint, but I do not think that really needs to be taken into consideration. I mean, I know when, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rivka, but a lot of times when we go out and hire here, our pool, we're poaching from the county or the city or other folks. They may not necessarily be, library involved, but they're in that sort of pool, so to speak. So I think when we look at that. I think the cities, the local and the county needs to be part of that. But I also think circulation definitely needs to come into play. Whether another city has the same circulation but only has 13 libraries, I still want to see that breakdown, because I think, to me, that's what drives the work, is the circulation. You might have a city with 28 libraries equivalent, but if their circulation is half, that to me isn't comparable. So I really think circulation, because that's, in my opinion, what drives the amount of work folks are doing. So, and I'm not a real fond member of variable pay because it's very difficult to track.
Member Natoli.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I appreciate Susan walking through it here this afternoon, because just in briefing before the meeting, I didn't know you were going to actually want us to, it says you want to receive input, but I didn't know you want us to kind of weigh in on the compensation philosophy, and I certainly appreciate the walkthrough, and I think the request to us to weigh in on that. I think that there are a number of components here that obviously that we can pick from. You're going to continue to do the analysis. I think Member Slowey's suggestion that we see, what was at least in the previous documentation. I was on the board. I don't specifically recall. I think, Ripke, you gave a little bit of a summation, and so did our consultants. But I do think that, there probably wouldn't be an argument amongst anyone up here that we want to be competitive. We want to certainly have the opportunity to reach out both within the community, but to the broader community within libraries, but depending upon what we're looking for, what skill sets that would support library operations, not just both within the library, but as we heard today, talking about facility upgrades, technology, those things where we have specialties within the library, but certainly good administrative capacity as well. And I think there are a number of things to keep in mind, and one is obviously being the state capital, that we have to be competitive to some degree in that realm, recognizing libraries, have some uniqueness and specialty aspects to them and to their administration and to the customers they serve. And also that, being that the JPA is made up of member cities and county, that's important framework too. Again, that's not the only guiding factor, because they're, to the point that was made a moment ago, we may garner from those workforces for when we do recruit or go out for positions. But I think we certainly want to be competitive and within the range of our member cities and county, and there is a range there, of course. But I wouldn't want us to be at the bottom. I don't know that we need to be at the top. We want excellence, but certainly we're not the. Again, we have other factors here that make it either easier or not to find work, to find housing, to and the other amenities that come with with a great place to live and to work and raise a family. But those don't pay the bills either. So I would just say that I'm not an expert in compensation or in benefit plans, but I think you covered the realm of things. But we want to be competitive and also I think reward excellence both from a performance standpoint, but just general quality of services that we provide, and be able to be adaptable and flexible in that regard, but be fair to our entire roster of employees, recognizing that there's always going to be a bit of a tension between those at the top and those who may be at a line level, but also different skill requirements, different education requirements, and so forth. So I don't know if that's much help to you, but I do think that you're going to be poised to bring this to us. And is it traditional that you would, or is it typical that you would, as a part of your plan, have a compensation philosophy? Does that get embedded in most documents that where you talk about your pay plans and so forth?
It is considered a very best practice.
Okay.
We
want to be the very best, so I guess we want to hear it. Okay.
There is a number. I researched the member agencies, the member cities and county, and we found several examples of especially mission statements and value statements, and a couple of actual real comp philosophies that were very well written.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Member Carr.
Cut to the quick on this. As a board member, I'm looking at one employee of a library, and that's the chief executive. The chief executive hires everyone else. So the chief executive has to submit, prepare, organize a compensation philosophy. My compensation philosophy is for the chief executive. The other people who are non-management already come to the board with approval of the labor agreement. So to me, this is up to our CEO to develop a philosophy for those management people who work for her, not for this board. So what I'm concerned about with my direct report are a couple of things. One, I don't want to see a compensation package developed by the chief executive that would cause fiscal jeopardy to the organization or undermine our image with the public. Second thing, and probably more important than that, I don't want the chief executive to change her compensation or benefits without the board approval. And the third, chief executive should keep us informed about best practices in compensation. But I see this as a chief executive job. And when we look at your job, we will consider that in closed session and develop those things.
Member Butch.
So I kind of have the same take on this that Director Carr has. I do remember, though, the comp and class study, and I was probably so new on the board at that point in time that I really hadn't a clue what it was. And I don't remember the compensation aspect of it so much as the classification, and the director at that time pointing out that there had never been a classification of the library employees, and I guess there just were librarians and assistants and whatnot, and so this was lists and lists, if I remember correctly, of what categories people fell into. But if it's important to do this compensation study for the management team here, then one wonders if a 10-year-old document actually has any validity in the workplace today. So is this going to lead to needing to update that one in order to match the current marketplace?
Well, I'll go ahead and respond. One of the unintended consequences, there are always unintended consequences, and one of the unintended consequences of the last class and comp study was the study was done, the recommendations were made, and within those recommendations, if I'm remembering my reading of those documents, and it's been a few years,
right.
Well, it hasn't been
For
that
all
long,
of us.
but I've looked at them since we started talking about this process. But part of it was the consultants recommended not implementing because there was a significant cost, and somehow they were implemented. So now we're in a state of sort of disequilibrium with one of the units and management, and that's where the compression and the sort of out of balance occurs. I'm trying to be really polite.
Diplomatic.
But
right.
that's the issue that we're dealing with.
Right.
We're dealing with an issue where there are people who are compensated at a level above the managers who supervise them, and it's been going on for quite a while. And frankly, we determined that we need help. I appreciate Director Carr's comments, because I could be responsible for that philosophy. I believe I need help because of history. There's a history here that included board action, and I think we need that sort of outside perspective to tell us if we're heading in the right direction.
Sure, and I can appreciate that, because this is a topic, that particular side of this topic has come up almost every year.
Yeah.
And so you're right, it's important to have some resolution of that. And so in terms of the process, if I understood what you said correctly, then the draft that they produce will actually come back to this board in April or in March or whatever, just for April, just as a draft, just as a draft for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so my only specific comment about the study in general, you indicated where is our market? And from my perspective, the market for employment for employees should be all over the United States, because that's how we got Rivka.
So just a couple questions, and then we'll close this item out. How often should the compensation study be done?
In a perfect world, it would be done a benchmark study, which is not all of the positions, but a key, a key bit of them. So among the 13 management, for example, we might only do 4 or 5, but a benchmark study would be done annually. The full study might be done in a perfect world, 2 to 3 years. When salaries are not changing. During the recent recession, we had 2 to 3 years of, frankly, no growth. You don't have to do a study at all. You know, if there's a position here, a position there that you're filling, that you might need to make some changes in, you might know that. You don't need to do a study during periods like that. But we're back to positions opening. We have lots of change. We have lots of turnover. I don't know necessarily at the library, but I'm talking about in the general economy right now. And so when you have that kind of activity, you at least need to keep a pulse on those, key positions.
Okay. And then who does Sacramento compare itself to as it relates to these types of studies?
We had to get started, and so we looked at the other 12 agencies, include primarily other library systems. We looked at, we reined in a couple because they were too big, and we cut out a couple that were too small. So we look at ones that are in the realm of the Sacramento Public Library Authority in terms of, we looked, I think, at budget and number of branches. We didn't have, unfortunately, circulation data for all of those libraries at the time, and so I'm not sure how that's going to compare. But certainly that can be something that we would be done going forward. As example, we also looked outside of the Sacramento area, or even California area. We used, outside of California, we used Seattle's public library, Salt Lake City's public library. What was the other one? Philadelphia. No, we didn't actually end up using Philadelphia. We used Douglas County in Colorado, which is the Colorado for.
Is that Boulder?
No, it's the state. Denver, isn't it Denver? No, Douglas is in Boulder.
No,
it's
Douglas County.
No, it's more like Pikes, isn't it?
Douglas County.
Yeah.
Douglas is Nevada.
No, Douglas County.
No, there's a Douglas County.
It's west of
There's one
Denver.
in Colorado, too. I've been speaking with that person recently. I know he's in Colorado. I just don't know what city he's in.
Clark County is considered to be one of our peers.
Yeah.
And they promised they would do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you come back with the draft, that information will be included as far as who we're comparing ourselves to, for us to be able to read.
Yep.
And then this is my last question. As it relates to completing the study, developing the implementation strategy and the maintenance plan, and preparing the compensation philosophy, is there anything you need other than today from this board in order to be able to do those things?
No.
No.
What we wanted to do is to present this to you, to inform you of really what we're doing and what you'll see in April, the draft that you will see, what will be presented to you, but also to give you the opportunity, if over the course of the next month you think of, in reviewing all of these that are bulleted here, if there's something that you think of that you and you're going back to your own organizations, think that you want to be considered, that you want us to consider as we are drafting and finalizing the draft that we will present to you, please bring that to Rivka, bring that to us. We will consider it. So it's not just the information or the input that you want to provide here today, but really over the course of the next month, as we are discussing this and developing the philosophy, we know it's a deliberative process. It's not just one decision that's made and we have the philosophy. So really it's opening that door and letting you know that any input you have going forward, we want to hear from you. It's important as a product of management.
Member Carr, you want to do the final question?
Yeah, I'm still uncomfortable with this. I wasn't aware of the history, thank you, Director Budge, that some things that happened in the past to cause us to get to this point. But rather than compound it by adopting a compensation philosophy for people who don't report to us, it might be better to make clear the delegation to the library director what we delegate to her in terms of compensation, and let her develop the philosophy for people who work for her.
So I don't disagree with that. I think ultimately it will come, the philosophy she develops will come back for this board for approval. And so ultimately we will approve the philosophy that's being developed. Is that not the process?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So does...
Really not what I was saying.
Okay, so say it one more time so I can understand it like a third grader.
Okay. The library director hires people. They work for her. They don't work directly for us. They work directly for her. We set her compensation. Then she sets the compensation for the people who work for her. Past actions taken by the board have complicated that and made it so the board is involved in compensation for the director's employees. So what I'm saying is, rather than compounded by us adopting a policy, let's make clear, if we are delegating that to her, that this is clear, that this delegation is in effect and that she can do it. And she doesn't need to come and do a mother may out to us.
Member Ashby before Member Budge.
One just slight nuance difference from what we normally would do. We actually make the decision on their compensation, because ultimately the decision that's made for compensation, they are her direct reports, and you're right, she oversees everything they do. But the direct compensation piece is the responsibility of this board. You just haven't been here for one of those votes yet, but you will be, and I think that's what Rivka's trying to right the ship, because before any of us got here, including her, there was turmoil. We all know that. The library's had some struggles. Thank God those days are behind us, and Rivka and this board and the board before this did a great job of sorting it out. And normally I agree with my colleague, Mr. Carr, on this type of issue in terms of procedure. But because we actually are the compensation oversight for this issue, and all we're looking at here is compensation as opposed to duties, I think this is appropriate. So I know it's not on for a vote today. I just give it to you as food for thought, Councilmember Carr, maybe to consider before it comes back in April and they give us a little bit more information. But when we get in that room and we have to make a decision about compensation, probably be helpful to have a little bit more information as to the report that these folks are offering us.
Member Bulge.
And from my perspective, while I completely understand the philosophy of what you're talking about, because Rivka will see the draft of this document before it ever comes back to us, it will be influenced by her personal philosophy of compensation and what she believes is appropriate in the marketplace. And I have to say, and I suspect that the people who were here at that time would agree with me, if Rivka had been the library director at that point in time, we probably would not be in the position of needing to correct what took place. So this really is an opportunity to fix it.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so this is not an action item. This will come back to us in April, and we'll talk about the next steps after April when we come back with the draft report. All the questions have been answered. We will move on to item number 16. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 16.0, Chair's Report.
So I just want to inform the board that in the future on the Chair's Report, we'll just incorporate it into the report from ideas and questions from board members as than having a separate chair report. I think I can report from that area without it being separate. The chair has no report today, so therefore we'll move to item 17.
Item 17, reports, ideas, and questions from board members.
Going once? Going twice? Oh, okay. You questions? Okay.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I pushed the wrong button. Okay.
Member Budge.
No, just thank you so much for the wonderful ceremony to open the Veterans Assistance Center at the library. That was delightful. Really well attended.
Yeah, that was great.
Anyone else?
Thanks for the book.
Thanks for the history lesson. We're looking forward to that.
Enjoy.
Seeing no other questions, comments, or reports, this meeting is adjourned.
Maybe we should all have to turn in a book report.